quickly we're going to spin everything up from scratch. I've got a directory out here that the broker puts its base context files in. It usually has a capabilities file and it usually has an examples file. I've deleted them. I'm going to run the broker. And it's spun up, running out of Visual Studio. I'm going to put it right here so it's kind of beside these sensors. We see now that we've got a couple of files. We've got a capabilities file and an examples file where it put the default capabilities, which there's only one default capability, and that's to open a dialog and respond to the user. And there's an example of that. Put that away for a minute and then look at what else is on the screen. Here we have the Conda environment in which we run the embeddings model. Angle embed or angel embed.py. Let's see what that looks like. Angel embed.py. We're going to load a model called model quantize.onyx. We're setting the provider to the Vitus AI execution provider. That is supposed to get it running on the NPU, the AMD NPU. Other than that, it's sort of the Onyx runtime way of doing things where you have an inference session. The tokenizer is the same as what we're used to from transformers. And then let's see, we load it and run it from pre-trained, encode the input phrase. This is running in a Flask web server. This part right here, this setting up this shape. Actually, this part of it right here, setting up the shape, was just really hard for me to figure out. It took me a long time. And I figured it out finally by watching a video from some other contestants in this contest. And I actually paused the video and saw how they were doing that. They were doing it for a completely different model. But I was able to find the syntax for how to use this NumPy thing, which most, Python programmers will probably know how to do without any problem. We do the session run and let's see. No. That's in a function. All this stuff up here is in a function, get vector from model. Down here is where the web server stuff is. There's a route called embedding phrase that will get the vector from the model and return it. And then there's also there's a route called embedding. It has a parameter called phrase. And then there's a compare that I'm not using for anything right now. I'm only using this one, this embedding phrase. And it just over and over gets a vector from that model. And I'll run it out here to get that started. Come on, baby. What we got here? So a lot of this memory was used by, there it goes. A lot of this memory was used by the big model that the broker started up. Okay, so I'll leave that there. Let's bring the broker up. When I started it, it had no default examples or port maps or, oh yeah, these are exceptions saying that it couldn't find the files. So, but it should have the files to be able to do a respond. So let's see. Let's see who was George Washington. So now it's going to let me see the prompt, a preview of the prompt that it's going to send to the large language model. So we have this system prompt that gives the AI an explanation of what we want it to do, and it lists out the capabilities. So right here is the only capability we have so far, which is respond to user. Then comes the question. Oh, I need to use, okay. Who was George Washington is my example. So when you load a capability, you also load an example, and this is my example. What this does is it teaches the AI, as part of the context, how to use the capability. So who was George Washington was my example question. And I'm telling it that previously, not really, but previously you said, AI, respond to user with, and the main thing that this accomplishes is the square bracket syntax for passing a parameter. Without using these examples, the AI just doesn't get it, even though I explain it in detail up here, right? When generating a replacement in the template for question marks, surround it with the square bracket punctuation, but it just almost never does it. So you got to give it examples. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to say who was somebody else. How about Franklin Roosevelt? And there's one thing about this. If I don't spell things correctly, it usually is pretty forgiving and will correct it for me, which is nice. So let's see what this looks like now to make sure that we're changing things. Right, so the example is saying who was George Washington. Then my question is, and these things are added as sort of a default. They're like context parameters. And then it says who is, and then the rest of it will be the assistant's response. So let's see what it says. Time to first token could be anywhere from 40 seconds to a good bit longer, depending on how complicated it is. On this Menace Forum mini PC, we have a response. Yeah, it says respond to user with. Looks like the syntax is correct. Now here's where the embeddings model comes in. I'm going to compile that, and that's what this little button here does. And you saw it down here, it got get, and it said respond to user with, respond to user with. Those are both it should return exactly the same vector. And it did. We got a likeness of 1, which is a success. And if we run that, it will pop up, and the LLM says Roosevelt was the 32nd president. Okay, good. So now let's give it the ability to create an email. I'm going to go to the email application. This is it's a standalone. Let me see what my parameters are. Okay, I'm going to turn this off for just a second so you can just sort of see that it's a standalone application. It's running in a completely different process on the computer. It doesn't have a send button because I don't really have a way to wire it into a real email server as a client, but if it did, there would probably be a send button right here. You can set recipients, you can set a subject, and you can set a body. It has basically those 3 capabilities. Now, as part of the startup, if it sees the phrase install on the command line, right, then it's going to self-register its capabilities, and that's what's happening down in here. We're going to add we're going to add a capability of a launch type. We're going to add one of an HTTP post. That is to set the email. And there's also one for the body and one for the recipient address. So I'll run this. and this right here, this action of installing an application like this, it doesn't open when it's installing. It just basically runs and then ends. But that action is the power of the ecosystem. Power of it went by pretty fast, didn't it? Over here in the automation pane, we'll see that right about here, let's see. Yeah, we got a capability API post, right? And it registered start email application, set email subject, append email body, added an email recipient. Then it got an example API post that's a different, right, API. And the example that it got, this is the question that it got, right? It's like send an email, and the email summarized George Washington, list 3 impacts, right? And talk about George's life as a slave owner. That's the example. We don't see in here what the answer is. These are just messages basically coming out of the automation system letting us know things are happening. Now, if we come here, we can see the difference. So we used to just have respond to user with. Now we have 4 more capabilities here. And we used to just have this example. Now we have another example question and a pretty in-depth response. So now we're gonna test this email capability. So instead, I'm not gonna run I'm not gonna run it through the LLM first, but I'm gonna paste in here, I think. Damn. I thought I had something in my paste buffer. I think I do. There it is. Okay. By default, this response area is not editable. I wanted to track whether or not the user had to edit the response before compiling as a means of determining, how good the response was. So if you compare what I've written here to the capabilities that the LLM has, or to the capabilities that the broker has, you can see that set AI is complicated as the email subject doesn't really match syntactically to set email subject to ? These are all 3 a little different, right? I've got add, these all have the parameters at the end, I've got the parameters mixed in. I'm going to compile that, and this is the piece that runs the embeddings model out on the NPU. And we got those activity here on the NPU usage. We also got some activity here on the CPU usage, but I don't think this is nearly as high as it would have been on the CPU if the NPU had not been in play. So for open new email, it mapped it correctly to start email. To set AI and to set the email subject, it mapped it correctly to this. It calculated a likeness score of 0.94. And if we look at some of the messages we get from the compiler, we can see the top 3. We got the highest match was set email subject, and then the next highest match was append email body, and then the third highest match was add recipient email address, and it picked 094, but it also says execute with caution because the likeness is weak, relatively speaking, you know, it's weak. So we have weak likenesses on all of these, but we're going to go ahead and execute them anyway. Oh, and this number here tells us how many parameters are expected. We're really only able right now to deal with one parameter per action. Maybe I'll have room. Maybe there'll be room to improve that in the future. But this is telling us that from the capability that was chosen, there should have been one parameter. So the parameter expected was 1. And then this is telling us how many parameters were parsed, and then it's telling us what it is. When we click the button here, it's saying it parsed AI is complicated for that parameter, and then these others are the same. So it looks like it parsed the parameters out correctly. So when we run it, it launches the email app, right? Puts the email address in the right spot, subject in the right spot, and the body is appended with the correct information. So that's good. Let's see if we can find something a little more complicated. Let's look here at questions that I've sort of. This one's pretty good. Oh no, that's got calendar. This one's good. This one kind of shows off the ability of the model. There's shows off some of the knowledge of the model. And we're going to let the model do some work this time. We're discussing the difference between fusion and fission power-related career paths. So that's kind of a multiple steps of thinking, right? First of all, you got to figure out, you got to go research fusion, you got to go research fission. Now we're talking about what they are, yes, but we're talking about careers in those power fields. So it could take it a little while. Oh, here we go. But that was pretty quick. I mean, that was, about a minute. Not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and compile this to see if there's anything that basically just won't compile. Got our NPU usage on that. And it looks like everything will compile. Let's find out what it did. This schedule a meeting in 2 days to discuss is probably not it may not make the cut, but let's just see what we get in their email. Oh, okay. So it just basically asks in the email, would you be available in two days on a certain time? It's really good to discuss it. So let's see. Fusion versus fission, career paths, and meeting invite. Very nice. Fusion is known as also known nuclear fusion. This method will fancy. This method is still in its fancy, but it's a potential game changer. So it doesn't really, it's a little disappointing in that it doesn't say what any of the, careers in these fields actually are. It just says, let's discuss them. Let's discuss the career paths. All right, so let's enhance on that. And at the same time, let's go ahead and install the calendar app. I'm going to install its capabilities by adding maybe I should show the app first. Just as a standalone application, it's not the greatest. It's got some issues. This thing over here doesn't stay on the right thing. It does have a cool little a cool little ability here to show you if you're sort of overbooked. Like let's say I wanted to, I'll add a new calendar event for 6 p.m. and that is today. Okay, duration of 30 seconds or 30 minutes. I'm going to say this is a test event, and in the description I'm going to say it is 30 minutes. And if I add it right now, see, that will be at 6 p.m. on the 15th. This refresh, which wasn't great, but here you can see that out of this square, right, 30, half of it, or 30 minutes of that hour is taken up. And then down here you can see that, you've got overlap. There's 2 events here because this is a little darker and there's 2 bars. Now if you click on that, it breaks them out for you, right? And it'll show you that. So not the greatest little calendar app, but I mean, that's kind of the point, right? Is to be able to write applications that will make themselves available to the AI. And if you don't like this calendar app, you can just you can uninstall it and install one that's better. And the AI that was in place is still in place, and it can use the new one. Or as this one improves, as its capabilities improves and are added to, I can install it and make it available for the AI to use. So right now I'm going to install a calendar's capabilities by putting in -install. Run that and it should be installed. So let's check our automation over here. So it says it install, let's see, API, start calendar application, set calendar event title, append calendar event description, set calendar event date and time, and then it says, this is an example API, right? Add an event to remind me, and then it has an address. So let's look at what the example looks like. So if we come down, we'll say, this is the question, right? Add an event, and then the response is, this is really kind of key right here, right? Without this example, the AI would not know how to format this date and time. And it will basically just insert in there whatever you put in. See, up here, I said set up an appointment for July 12th at 2, and I'm telling it when you see that you need to convert it to this format. So that's good. Let's run this again. Now let's see if it will schedule the meeting using my calendar app. Well, I got some CPU usage. I would love to be able to get this running on NPU. I should be able to. In fact, I saw out on, I think it was Hugging Face, where somebody's already done it with the Llama 3 to getting it running on NPU. And I tried. I just didn't have any success. It's that Ryzen AI software is pretty complicated. Okay. We got a response. I'm just going to go ahead and compile it. We got email stuff, and more email stuff, and more email stuff. Nothing related to the calendar. Well, that's disappointing. Let's see, schedule a meeting in 2 days to discuss. Let's try add this meeting to my I'm surprised I have to do that. Let's try it again. Whenever a capability is registered, you know, the vector needed to compare that capability to something that the LLM generates, that vector doesn't exist yet. So it sort of creates them on demand. So sometimes you'll see more activity here because there's a new capability that it hasn't generated a vector for yet. Sort of generates those on demand. So in here, this capabilities file right here is where all those capabilities and their vectors are getting stored. Vector data. Okay, we have a response. Let's compile that. Email. Got a couple of failures here. I'm not sure. We'll go look and see what that is. Then we got start calendar, set calendar, this and that. So that looks good. Well, let's check out this failure here. Invalid start of a value. Line number. Let's see what's going down. So the last one that it did correctly was append email body with. Let's give myself some more room here. Okay, append email body with, and then start calendar application. Huh. What does it even see in there? Let's see if there's any. Okay, hang on, wait a minute, hang on. There's the beginning of the S. Left cursor, left cursor. Interesting. There's a character there that it's not displaying. Okay, let's see if that'll compile now without any errors. Yeah, that worked a lot better. There's some special characters that the LLM is putting out. I need to figure out what those are, I guess, and strip them out. All right, let's try running this. Okay, so we got an email. The email is different this time. Both have their own unique challenges and opportunities. I'd love to discuss this with you further. I'd like to schedule a meeting. So that part looks pretty good. The subject is good. The recipient is, I guess, the best it could do, right? Now, we said to schedule the meeting in 2 days. So today is the 15th, and 7/9/2020 is not a good date. So why did it do that? 7/9/20. I don't know where it's coming up with that from. So that's what we've got in here. Are we saying what today's date is down here? Yep, the current date is 7/7/2024. Where is that coming from? Okay, well, according to that, the date is correct. I think I know what it is. I think I generate, so these are context parameters, and they live out in a file out here called parameters.json. Yeah, and I think I generated this. This is something I need to generate on the fly instead of generating one time. So let's pretend that the day is the 7th, and then look at what it said over here. So where's my, here, yeah. Okay, 2 days from the 7th would be the 9th. So that is correct. 10 a.m. is correct. The duration is not something I have the LLM control right now. Meeting with Levi, Fusion versus Fission, that sounds good. Meeting to discuss. Okay. If I hit add, let's see, it would be at 10 a.m. This would be the one it would add. So that looks fine. And this is persistent, right? I can come back to this and these will be here. If I come back to the calendar app, when I hit add, it's saving it. Whereas the email right now, when I close this, it just kind of throws them away. So just one more little thing here. I say explain the difference between fusion and fission power, related career paths. It doesn't really do any kind of an explanation. How can I reword this to make it, let's see, fusion and fission related career paths. Let's ask it to give three examples of careers. How do you spell careers? C-A-R-E-E-R, careers in each field of study. Let's see if we can get a little better response out of it that way, and show off maybe that the LLM is kind of smarter than what we're seeing here. All right, anyway, let's see what we got on this one. Quite a few more lines. It's like those same two failures before it goes to the calendar. I don't think these failures are going to hurt anything. I'm just going to go ahead and run it. Okay, so the calendar at 10 a.m. in 2 days from the 7th. That looks okay. 10 a.m., 10 a.m. Okay, let's read the email. Here are the examples in fusion: engineer, plasma scientist, material scientist. Very good. And then in fission, we have reactor operator, protection specialist, and waste management specialist. So that's pretty good. Not bad. That's better. All right. We want 3 separate emails that are tuned to each recipient about that, basically about the same things. And what are we up to? We're up to almost a minute. And notice that the RAM doesn't really vary all that much through all this activity, but you kind of need, I think you're probably going to have to, if you're going to do this sort of thing, running your LLM locally, you may need more than 16 megs or gigs of RAM. I actually worked when 16 megabytes of RAM was a lot. if you can imagine that. Right, but in 16, see, I'm at 20 here. If I had 16, I'd be pretty much out of luck. 24 might work. You're really going to need 32 gigs of RAM. This little Menace Forum PC here, it has fast RAM too. All right, let's see what we got. Let's just go ahead and hit the compile button and see what happens. These are failing because it didn't open the email application. It's saying to put all, and it has to start the email before it can send all these other commands, right? It can't, and those are timing out. That's why it's going so slow, right? Each of these things is like trying to send a command to an application that's not running. So like then it started them, but it definitely did things out of order. It should have put, okay. How about in an email like we had before? In an email, explain in email. How about in emails? The differences, give examples, schedule a meeting, add the meeting to my calendar, create emails for each of the following students. So, I don't know why. I'm not sure why that. Hopefully we can, sort of tweak our prompt to get it to behave the way we want it to. while that's happening, I think I can do this. I haven't ever done this before. While that LLM is running, I'm going to go ahead and install the charting app. I'm going to close this solution and start the chart application. And what's it doing? I was going to run it. Yeah, it's running. Okay, so in this app, you got a way to set the title, and you can put in a label and a value. This color doesn't work. So let's say the label is, say, February, and with a value of 1. And maybe like March, the value of 2. Then this, you can put together a simple little column chart. Now, the way you represent this information can be done in one line by saying, let's see, I think it's like March :8, comma, let's try June :2. See what that does. And if I step out of this thing, no, that's not the right syntax. I can't even remember my own syntax. Maybe the colon, maybe it's March =9, May =7. Let's try that. There you go. The colon separates the pairs. So this is what I'm going to be asking the LLM to generate when I give it an example. Then the examples are pretty important. So let's go ahead and, well, let's see what's happening over here first. Nope, still generating, 2 minutes and 20 seconds in. Let's go up to here and have it install its capabilities. Never done this before. I may have to edit this video if this is a disaster. Let's see what we have over here in the automation pane. Yeah, it looks like we got capability API, start column, start application, set title, and set series. Finally, whew, I was getting worried. I can't lie. All right, let's see what we've got when we compile it. Well, this time I've got start email application right out of the gate, so that's a really good sign. We're going to add a recipient, set a subject, append. Got some failures, got those funky characters, and then we're going to start an email application again. That's great. We're going to do this, append. We're going to start another email application here. This is much, much better. And then finally, we're going to start the calendar. So let's run this. This should be a much better response. Okay. So here's the calendar invitation. That looks good. Now we've got 3 emails to different people, but it looks like, oh, there's a little bit of uniqueness there. Looking forward to it, John. Looking forward to it, Levi. So that's great. We've got this thing doesn't scroll. We've got the details here. Oh, this up here is even bigger. As you explore the world. Well, both involve reactions, differences. So this is, in my opinion, this is the best response we've gotten yet. This looks really good. We got, and there's a lot of information in here, and yeah, it's talking about the meeting in 2 days. Looking forward to it. Personalized, good stuff. Okay, I'm trying to think of a way to work a column chart into this little. Probably not going to probably not going to be I can't think of a good way to work a column chart into a meeting about fusion and fission. Oh, what if we do this? All right, this is saying add a meeting to my calendar, create. All right, let's say schedule a meeting. So 3 examples of career paths. Now, let's say chart the expected salary of each career. So, completely off script. I've never tried to do this. We're going to, and if this works, I mean, I kind of think it should work. I'll be pretty impressed. Let's see what adding the calendar capabilities did to our prompt. And one of the things I need to do, and I have the ability to do it, is I need to get the context size, because this context is, well, I mean, it's probably not really, I think we've got a context of like 8,000 tokens for Llama 3. I can't tell by looking at this if we're approaching that, but yeah, and the really, so the list of, we now have a column chart application, right? We can set a title and we can set the series. Now, that's pretty vague, right? A series is a pretty complicated thing to describe. So the example for this is really key. So if we come down here and look at this, here's an example that says create a chart that shows the number of days in each month of the year. And here's the example to add. This is wrapping. That should all, yeah, it is all on one line right there, right? So, and this is what teaches the LLM how to format the parameter. So that's that syntax I showed you a minute ago, right? Where you've got the column, the colon separating the pairs. And then there's another one down here. The ask on this one is create a chart that shows the planet's sizes, right? It does a good job of. This does a good job of telling it that you can put like the unit of measure in the title. Whether this works or not, hopefully you kind of see the power of it. It may get to be a challenge as you install more and more capabilities. It may get to be a challenge to sort of, for the LLM to generate and avoid, right? To like avoid capabilities that it's not really pertinent. The one good thing about the way this is set up is that once the response is generated in here, you can pick and choose the pieces of it that you want, right? I can come in here and I can edit this response and I can just remove parts of it. I don't see anything in here related to a chart, so it put the salary information in the email bodies. What can we do to make this one work? The fact that these are salary ranges might be tripping it up. So let's be more descriptive here. Let's say create a column chart of the average expected salary of each career. See if that helps it. So the next thing to try to do is to somehow get it to, well, so the email application is not powerful enough to embed an image. But let's say that the email application had a capability of paste image into body from clipboard. And the LLM should know what a clipboard is. And then for the charting application, I could have a capability of copy chart image to clipboard. And then the LLM could generate the chart, copy it to the clipboard, paste it in the email. And then we would be integrating multiple applications for a workflow. That would be, it's kind of like the next thing I want to try to accomplish. Come on, you can do it. Give me a chart this time. Now, I mean, if you think about how malleable that LLM is in order to be able to do something like this, there's like a couple of different levels of what you want it to do with it. Okay, we got something. Go ahead and compile it. Ooh, what's this right here? Add chart series. Ha ha ha. I like it. We might get something after all. It's like going to generate three different. It's like it might generate three different charts. That's not great. Yeah, it generated three different charts. It generated a separate chart for each student, even though it didn't really need to. Okay, there's our calendar reminder, and let's look at this chart. Oh, this is really interesting. It tried to create a label and it threw everything off. So it's like Fusion Engineer, Fusion Engineer. And then over here it says Fission Engineers equal. Oh, interesting. If I just take this out, what's it look like? And I get why it's trying to let us know which of these are nuclear, and I'm sorry, which ones are fusion and which ones are fission, and it doesn't have a good way of doing that on here. But I think the first three, are fusion related, and then these three are fission related. Pretty easy to clean that up, right? And it's pretty amazing. You would have figured the average salaries for these engineering jobs would be higher than this. What do you think? Don't you think that would be higher than that? But now look, like seeing it in a chart like this helps us, right? It helps us see that. Whereas those numbers that were just in the emails a minute ago weren't all that good. Now I have the ability to save this image. I can save this out as engineering salaries. It's not real smart. I have to tell it everything, but I can save that out to the file system. And then I can use it later. Let's see what our email looks like. I think our email looks pretty much like it did. Wow, this explanation up here is even better. Maybe. And then Yeah, I did average salaries in here. Like I only said to do that for the chart, but I'm okay with it doing it, not showing a range in here also. Oh, and then look at this. It says here is a column chart showing the average salary for each career path. So it already wants to do that embedding into the email. Yeah, but I didn't give it a way to. And then this is tripped up here for all three of them. But still, that's pretty good. I can't. I mean, there's a lot. This is accomplishing a lot by just typing in, Now I did groom this, right? It wasn't a one shot sort of, I came in here and came up with this in one shot, right? We grew this, but we also, and I can definitely, now I can do these three, I can do the same thing with three others, right? You can generate more emails. So anyway, you get the idea. If you watched all of this in one sitting, I greatly appreciate that. It was a long video, but hopefully you see some of the potential in an AI enabled operating system ecosystem, where the AI is installed and ready to go, right? And we build applications knowing that, and when we install them, we let it know what our capabilities are. Okay, thank you. I was hoping this would finish quickly. Come on. Chart the populations of the continent.